to deliver a talk here in Moscow in front of such a great audience. Before I start the talk, I think I should say thank you more. Thank you to Daria for inviting me here, and thank you, of course, to the department, the School of Philosophy, for sponsoring my application and therefore for supporting my fellowship. Okay, that's it. I don't know you, so I thought since we have a lot of time, I could introduce briefly myself, tell you a little bit about myself, about my research, and how it connects to critical thinking. Then we can move into the talk and say a little bit more. So, yes, as you can say, my name is, as you can see from the slide, my name is Mirko. I'm originally from Italy. Right now, I live in London, where I work at King's College as a postdoctoral fellow there. I just started this job a couple of months ago, and this is my first job, academic job, full-time academic job. And before that, I did my PhD in Sydney, in Australia, in cognitive science. And before that, I did an MPhil in Edinburgh, the University of Edinburgh, in philosophy of mind. Before that, I did something else too, but that makes me feel a little bit old, so maybe I will tell you. I did an MSc by research in Amsterdam in logic and philosophy of science, so you can guess I'm getting old now. Okay, so this is about my education. About my research, well, you know, I'll be delivering a series of seminars on critical thinking here, but my research is not specifically on critical thinking. This is something that I teach to students, or better, that I used to teach to students in Australia when I was living there. My research is concerned with issues at the crossing, at the interconnection between philosophy of science, mind, and cognition. So mostly philosophy of perception, individuation of the senses, with a special focus on sensory substitution and synesthesia, embodied cognition and distributed cognition, so the extended mind thesis, cultural evolution and cultural learning, embodiment, skills, and expertise, and brain plasticity. So if by any chance you have any interest in these fields or any related areas, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'll be visiting Moscow until, I guess, Monday, the 20th. So we can talk about any of these issues with you. If you don't have any related interest in these research areas, do get in touch anyway. We can get out for drinks, it's fine. So no worries. Okay, so this is the first seminar of a series of seminars on critical thinking. If you read the abstract, you should be familiar with its content. However, I thought I would just start this talk by walking you through these contents, and I summarize them for you in bullet points. So what I will be doing today is start by giving a very general, intuitive definition of critical thinking, the sort of definition that you can find by Googling the term, looking it up for, in pages like Wikipedia, and then moving on to highlight some of the characteristics, most salient characteristics of good critical thinkers, and then reflecting on how we can improve our thinking skills, highlighting some of the most important components of critical thinking, which are theory, practice, and attitude. Having done that, so having done this kind of background work, I will return to my original definition of critical thinking and try to improve it. Improve it how? Well, essentially by presenting a number of definitions of critical thinking that scholars in the field have recently formulated, and by reviewing these definitions I will aim to improve the original definition that I gave, and so to make it richer and better suited for academic purposes. Having done that, we'll briefly reflect on what it means to be critical in the academic world, or why it's being important being critical, not only in the academic world, for ourselves and in the society. And then we will briefly highlight the steps that one needs to take in order to become critical. So that would be the first part of this talk. The second part of this talk, which will probably be more interesting for people here, would be about how to teach critical thinking to students in the classroom. So we will be reviewing one paper, which was written by an Australian philosopher, Tim van Gelder, and this paper suggests a number of tips for teaching critical thinking to students. Having done that, I will review Toulmin's model of argumentation, Stephen Toulmin was a great British philosopher who recently died, philosopher of science, who came up with this model, and it's, I believe, the standard model that is taught in Western universities. So it's helpful to know it for students, so we will review it. And then we will move on and discuss how other subjects, such as logic, philosophy of science, for instance, can contribute to critical thinking, and therefore why we should teach them to students. Having done that, as you can see, the talk is very long today, we have a lot of time. We will assess a number of critical thinking methods. We will review a number of critical methods for assessing critical thinking. And finally, we will conclude this talk by reflecting on whether or not critical thinking skills, principles, and methodologies are universally applicable to humankind, or whether instead they are somehow culturally specific and therefore context dependent. The answer would be it's probably a bit of both. Okay, so this is the general overview of this talk. Now, let's start with a brief definition, a very general definition of critical thinking. I found this video on YouTube, which I think is quite useful, so I'm going to show it for you. It's a good way to break the ice and to start, I think, this talk. It's just under 3 minutes, 2 minutes and a half, so it will not take much time. Let me know if you have problems.
Asking questions. The right questions. Critical thinking is all about asking questions. The right questions. Questions that help you assess both the meaning and the significance of claims and arguments. Building these skills and applying them in your life makes it easier for you to assess evidence, evaluate arguments, and adapt your thinking so you stay switched on and engaged in different situations. Critical thinking involves stepping back from a situation to enable you to see all the angles before making judgments or taking decisions. It means identifying the key points, analyzing the sources of information, weighing up different types of evidence, just as a judge and jury would do in a court of law, and putting it all together into your own independent, thought-through point of view. One thing that it's very important to realize is that critical thinking isn't about being critical. And it's about much more than just finding flaws in other people's claims. By itself, that isn't enough to give you an edge. To be a true critical thinker means being creative, reflective, and adaptable, evaluating the evidence to decide for yourself what is accurate, what is relevant, and do I have sufficient information to take a decision on this topic? Thinking critically means taking a stand for yourself. It can be difficult not to be swayed by close family or friends' views on things, or certain beliefs that just feel right. But learning how to use these higher order thinking skills can help you to feel much more confident in your own opinions and conclusions. Critical thinking is also about a sense of discovery and excitement. Not only about learning, but evaluating arguments to see how they stand up, and filtering for yourself what resonates as right or wrong. By using these techniques, you'll find yourself becoming a clearer, better thinker. McCat, learn better, think smarter, aim higher.
Okay, so from this video you can quite clearly get, I think, few ideas about critical thinking to start with. So, yeah, critical thinking, one can say, it involves the ability to think clearly and rationally about what to do or what to believe. So one could say fundamentally, essentially, critical